Lesson 3, Sigmund Freud. All right. First off, let's share a quote with Sigmund Freud here up in the upper right-hand corner. Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength. So I like good motivational quotes, and there's some truth to that. Like the things that has been hard in your life, the things that you've had to overcome, the things that you right now are overcoming. Those are the things that actually give you strength. As I said in the last lesson, the fact that I had a mom who was in mental institutions for years and especially all through high school. At the time, it was bad. And I had some bad behavior as a result of some of those difficult things. However, now it's a source of strength. And the fact that later, my mom and I had a great relationship for the last 20 years of her life. Those are very special memories because she overcame her problems as well. So that's a great hope. All right, we're gonna look at a little closer, just so we have definitions of free association, dream interpretation, and hypnosis in terms of like how Freud used them. But let's just review something really quick because at the root of the use of these is the idea of repressed memories. And so I want to go to some science, just look at some science really quickly. Bear with me. I'm going to read just a little bit of some science about repressed memories. All right. Let's go first off to Psychology Today, and this is Tema Enrenfeld. Do we repress bad memories? And here's what the science shows: do we forget our worst memories? Some psychotherapists believe that when children are hurt, especially when they're severely abused, they may dissociate and block out the memory in order to protect themselves from pain. But the memory still affects them, showing up in anxiety or anger about the matters decades later. In theory, recovering it meaning remembering it suddenly, of the original experience will help adult patients with current problems. So that's the baseline here of that. Really is a great way of defining Freudism. However, to quote the American Psychological Association, there's little to no empirical support, meaning scientific provable evidence, for the concept that repressed or dissociated memories of severe abuse. Like people, when they're abused as children, usually do remember some of all of the event, although they may not remember it or see it as clearly. So the point is that most people remember the abuse, frankly, and frankly, the fact that they remember it is the problem. But you just can't like make it go away suddenly, is what the point is of this article. And then another point here: false memories actually are well documented in legal history. So actually, not only do we not forget bad stuff, but we actually create false memories. So that brings into question whether or not if you suddenly remember something, whether it really was remembered. We are vulnerable to what psychologists call suggestion, meaning that someone can suggest something and then all of a sudden, like, we think that it really happened, and can innocently construct false or pseudo memories of events that never occurred if they are encouraged by someone we trust. One disturbing 2007 study found that when people recalled abuse in childhood during therapy, their account was less likely to be corroborated by other evidence than when the memories came up without help. Sadly, many well-meaning therapists actually bring their patients harm. So if you remember the pain and you remember the memory, okay, that's totally legit, although you might not remember it perfectly. However, when someone suggests it or thinks like, well, are you sure you didn't have abuse? And then all of a sudden you remember it, not likely to actually be corroborated by any other evidence or family members or anything else. So the idea that we repress memories, not great science. And then Freud's methods of getting at the repressed memories, not good science. Let's go on to those though. All right, so remember, free association was the idea that say the first thing that comes to mind. Say the first thing that comes to mind. So they give you a word, like mother, and then you say something immediately: grandmother, father, friend, uh, apple, and then you say the first thing that comes to mind. And then supposedly you can look through patterns and you can see like at the unconscious, supposedly. One thing that this leads to is something that's known as a Freudian slip. You may or may not have heard of this term, but what is a Freudian slip? So it happens during a free association, or sometimes just when you're speaking. A Freudian slip is when you say one thing, but you mean your mother. I mean another. Ooh. So like, see how like he was gonna say you mean another, but he slipped and said your mother. Well, Freud would look at that and say, oh, so you have problems with your mother. You have mommy problems. You have mommy issues. And then they would sit there and dive into that and supposedly have a discussion about why you have such a problem with your mother, that when you meant to say another, that you actually said mother. The reality of this, it has been a lot of research on Freudian slips, and what really is that our mind commonly messes up words that sound alike. Like we do this on occasion. And so Freudian slips are less an unconscious, issue with some problem, and more like our mind just like messes up words that sound similar. In fact, when you think about not messing up a word, we actually sometimes are more likely to mess up a word. So that's just kind of fun. Where did the original Freudians come from? Freud based his idea on a with a work with a young man who misquoted a Latin phrase from the um, Aeneid. I don't even know how to say that, so I'll just admit ignorance. The young man had dropped one of the Latin words when he repeated it to Freud, which the psychoanalyst believed that dropping the word offered a revealing look into the young man's unconscious mind. Of course, maybe dropping the word just meant like he forgot. I mean, that could have been what it was. It's funny how like an innocent mistake has it delve into it really deeply, and you come up with these really crazy things. Sometimes an innocent mistake, listen to this. Sometimes an innocent mistake is an innocent mistake. So anyway, but Freud always dug into it deeper. Through free association, Freud determined that the word reminded the young man of blood, which he believed was linked to a pregnancy scare the man had experienced with his girlfriend. Freud suggests that the man had blocked out the word because it reminded him of the negative experience. Oh, yeah, sure. Or he just forgot it because it's freaking Latin, and who remembers anything of Latin? I don't even know any Latin. There you go. I couldn't even say the name of the title of. Okay, I'm just gonna stop. Keep going. All right. Freudian slips. Here's a good one. Here's a funny one. Little cartoon. I love those psych cartoons. The old man says, "I wish I had more hair." And the wife says, "Don't be silly, Billy. You've got plenty of hair." And then she says, "Here's your boiled egg." Oh, deep meaning. She's making fun of him and calling him bald. And she meant to say boiled, but bald and boiled. And ooh, man, that's deep. She needs to go to have some psychoanalysis done. Just kidding. Let's move on. All right. Freudian slips. Funny one. This happened in Washington, D.C. at a dinner party. Condoleezza Rice, then a national security advisor to President Bush, stated, I was telling my husband, as I was telling President Bush, oh, the Freudian slip here seems to reveal that perhaps some hidden feelings the unmarried Rice might with told toward her boss. So she started calling her boss, the president, her husband, which yeah, I don't know. Maybe that means something, or maybe she just spent so much freaking time with him. They've joked about that. What in the world? Sorry about that. 27 beach photos that are unacceptable today. That was a Freudian slip, right? That was like a computer Freudian slip right there. How do you like that? Okay, awkward. Let's keep going. All right. So dream interpretation. You're gonna look for symbols. That's the other way to get at the unconscious. You look for some sort of symbols, that the car is representative of X. The fact that I had the dream where we crashed into water, the water is symbolic of the stress, and I feel overloaded, and I'm sinking under the water. And they somehow suggest repressed desire. These symbols have suppressed desire. So probably the suppressed desire I have is control. No, that's not suppressed. I openly admit the fact that I like to have control of events. Like, I mean, woo! How repressed is that? All right, sorry. And then hypnosis, which again, another very dubious like idea that this works, is used to access the unconscious mind, and then make you more likely to suggestion. And remember, suggestion is dangerous because we are all, especially when we trust somebody and someone maybe in a higher authority than us suggests something, we might actually start to think maybe it's true. And then that actually is not a good memory. All right, so that's Freud's way of getting at the unconscious a little more deeper and looking at whether repressed memories are real, looking at the science of it. All right, good. Keep practicing. Bye.